Let's call this thing to order.
Dr. Matusik,
I'm here.
Mr. Lau,
Present.
Mr. Choate, Mr. Griffin,
Present.
Mr. Tillman.
Here.
I'd like to welcome all our visitors this evening. Thank you for coming. Agenda item 2, public comments. 2.1, comments regarding agenda items. Is there a speaker list? Did anyone sign that?
Did any of you sign that?
I bet not.
You must remain silent for the remainder of the meeting. You're not on there.
Monday, June 14th on the list.
All right, very
Remember
good.
that?
Agenda item 2.2. No one contacted me 48 hours prior to the meeting. Mr. Sternberger, neither. So
I'll give it a minute.
no speakers this evening. Agenda item 3, consent agenda. Did anyone have anything that they wanted to pull out of the consent agenda for discussion? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Dr. Matusik,
Yes.
Mr. Lau,
Aye.
Mr. Griffin,
Aye.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Follow the leader.
All right. Follow the leader. Would that be me? Would that be me?
Very bad choice.
Regular business. I'm going to move agenda item 4.5 to the top of the list. Dr. Woods is going to discuss with us some of the flooring bids since he's been dealing with this since our disaster. That might have been brought on by him.
Probably not, no. There was two things that I was tasked with kind of continuing to look into. One of them was the awnings. The latest update I have on those is from Damian Hugaboom. He looked to see if he could find a bolt-up solution. The company that he gets his metal product from wasn't able to do that, so he's looking at a weld-up solution for part of the framing. I have not heard back from him yet on that, but he's continuing to look into that. We got an amount of settlement. Does everybody have a copy of the bid, the flooring bid? It's on there.
No, it was not on. It was not.
Okay. So the bid was like $101,000 for all of the 9 rooms, room 1 through 10, excluding room 9. It didn't have any damage.
We don't need all copies.
And then the
Same thing.
hallway flooring that would cover everything inside the high school. It's not classroom. Classroom would not be considered in that, and that was basically replacing the plank flooring that's in there now with almost a very similar color and style of flooring. That was the original bid. That we only had the one bid from Vector Concepts. No one else bid on the project. Sorry, Christopher wasn't here. He had a gentleman that he thought might, and we never did get a bid from him. Then Vector made 2 suggestions for alternates. One was to use a carpet tile like what's on the floor here, as opposed to a roll carpet. It actually would have been a $5,600 deduct because there was not as much waste and overage included in that. And there was we had a couple different carpet tiles that the staff looked at, and they kind of settled on one color.
So the carpet goes where, Mike?
Carpet is in all the classrooms. Let me back up. Classrooms 1 through 10, except classroom 9, which was math last year, Miss Broomfield's room. That room 9 did not receive any damage, but room 10 across the hall.
So this is high
did.
school that we're talking about?
Yes, sir. Sorry. High school, classrooms and hallways.
Classrooms had carpet in them prior? Or
They do have carpet in them currently, yes.
So really the halls were all that was the plank?
Well, everything that's not classroom basically gets replaced because the flooring is continuous. And so they have to go from the southeast end of the hall all the way around to the cafeteria, the annex, the concession stand, the vestibule in front of the school, in front of the office. All that would be replaced with planking. There were two small areas that had VCT tile in it, the lab in room 10, and if you go through the old shop, and there was a small area of VCT there that would be covered up as well. The flooring that's out in the hallways of the auditorium, the second alternative was to, instead of going back with VCT, tearing everything out, because there is some risk when you start tearing out older VCT tile, and this is the smaller 8-inch. There's always a little bit of a risk of what's in the glue. So they sent an alternate suggestion that they would leave the old flooring in place, the old planks and the old VCT, and they would replace it with the flooring that would look very similar, but a lighter color gray. It's supposed to have a sample here today, and it did not make it, last I knew. But it'd be this type of a flooring where the plank, the LVP planks would stay in place. They check them for dryness to make sure everything's dry before they just go right over the top of the flooring with the new, those snap together tiles. Like it's in the foyer of the dome as well. This hallway. This hallway was done exactly that way, where they left the old VCT and just went new flooring over the top of it.
Now, what's the need for, what was the damage to vinyl flooring?
The damage, when the water set on it, it affected the glue, and it kind of comes loose.
Cupped and stuff.
So they're suggesting that they can go right over the top of it without removing it?
Yeah, again, that's what's out here in this hallway, is that very same solution. And so
we went right over the top of vinyl flooring out here.
Yes.
Is it rolled up?
Now, what do they do with that is rolled up and
Well,
trip hazard and whatnot?
If they have to, they have a floor prep, they smooth it over, but it typically, those tiles will settle back and they won't stay cupped, and the floor floats. These snap together tiles, they float, they're not glued down or anything. So they have some ability to react a little bit to some of those situations.
Now, what part of this cost is deferred with insurance?
Well, the insurance will actually cover all of it. We got, the bid was 101. The last number I got from the insurance adjuster, Trey Roberts, was about 191,000. I still have to work with them. We had 3 different adjusters come through from the guys that were doing the abatement as far as the water when it was still wet, and dried out the walls and that sort of thing. Then we had 2 other adjusters came through. One of them said there had to be an allowance for where they took the cove off. When they took it off, it would rip the paper on the sheetrock up a ways. And I keep asking for an itemized detail of what we're getting for what. I'm either not making myself clear, or they don't want me to see it, or whatever. But I've not gotten that breakdown back yet. So the 191,000 would replace the heating units in rooms 1 and 2, which were the far east rooms, Miss Gwynn and Miss Parrish's rooms. Their rooms were the ones that we had to move them out of. Everything else we were able to dry the carpet out enough for them to have class. But we've had there's the drop ceiling tiles and the grid work. They're older, and where the grid work was damaged, we're maybe going to have to snag some of that, move it to the hallway to room 2, and redo room 1 with a new grid and ceiling tiles. But the 191,000 covers basically all of the cost of the repairs,
Including the initial drying out and wet back and
Right.
and all that.
So the numbers we've got so far, even if you replace, you get a salvage deductible amount. That's a percentage of your total amount. As long as we replace and fix everything, we get the total allowable amount, which is 189,000. There's 5,000 for that is 191, and then the balance there's a $2,500 deductible.
On the carpet versus what we have out here, we're talking, so is one got a longer life? I mean, classrooms, we need carpet, or is that just
Well,
preference? Or?
So the carpet that they have to replace it kind of as make it back like it was before the damage. And that, the first bid was where we had all three for the VCT, the carpet, and the plank was the first $110,000 quote they sent us. And so the rooms were carpeted, so that's the way they would have to be put back. I did not get an alternate for that, like another type of flooring. I did get the alternate where they could use the carpet tiles as opposed to the roll carpet. It was actually $5,600 less. But you just have to kind of weigh out on the hallways. Again, if you want to change that, it would be a significantly different look to go with the tiles, because they'll be like this with that look in the hallways, a little bit lighter. So it'd be a completely different looking floor in the hallways, the cafeteria, and it's a very easy to maintain floor. I don't know what the exact lifespan is in years,
But you're comfortable with them going over that rolled linoleum that's rolled up? You're not. You're not. I'll take that as a not.
Well, I mean, I think I have the same trepidations you guys are having with how does that work, but I've also seen it work.
So it's been done out here.
It's been done. I mean, this is
Okay.
exactly the same.
It's the
same
same
thing.
scenario.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
So
it's
that-
VCT.
The linoleum out here was rolled up.
Yeah. Remember
We had released some.
Yeah, and that was from where the water. Big difference was that was considered a flood, and it was a
Right.
$50,000 deductible. So the tile was loose, and the tile was popped up, and I mean they will. It seems to be working
It's the
fine.
least cost alternative, is that correct?
It's going to actually be a tiny bit. It was going to be about a $4,300 increase because of the flooring that we're putting over the top is a more expensive. This flooring is a more expensive type flooring.
But if they go in with that flooring and remove the linoleum tiles,
Well, they don't. That's where you save the money. Is they're not going to remove
Okay, that's what
the
I'm-
demo
gotcha.
cost.
There's no
Is where they
demo
pick
cost.
up the savings to where that we can afford this
Okay,
flooring.
gotcha.
So I do struggle with that. I think making sure the doors all open and closed appropriately when they went up another 7 millimeters of thickness to the floor, and they do come in with a threshold, a transition strip that goes between them.
What's the warranty on the floor with the rolled linoleum? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Okay.
So and it's not rolls. It's a LVP plank. It's a wood-looking plank, and it glues down. I mean, it's just a new technology. So I guess I think the carpet tiles for me, the carpet tile is a yes. We would want to do the carpet, the alternate with the carpet tiles. The other one would be the decision on do we want to move ahead, and I would again, Mr. Sternberger is going to be the one dealing with that after June 30th. So I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Jason? Or Mr.
I
Sternberger?
haven't had any experience with it whatsoever. But I mean, how long has this been like this and you haven't had any problems?
2 years.
No, but it's been 2 years, and I mean, it looks good.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, they had a little issue with the sun coming in when it would get really hot. The tiles would expand and kind of push up, and they go back down. I don't know what their solution is going to be or how they're going to address that. But as far as functioning day to day, I've heard absolutely no concerns.
I mean, the floor looks good, so 4,000 more people with that.
It's kind of
It's easy maintenance as far as you're aware.
yes, sir. Yeah, it's just a soap and water. There's no special cleaning. There's no waxing. There's none of that. It's soap and water. They run that ice looking machine, that ice hockey machine looking thing around. So again, be just kind of at your all's discretion. I would be comfortable with the going over the top with the floating floor compared to if we start and say no, we're going to go back to the glue down. We bust into the VCT and we run into asbestos in the glue. And then you got that to
So
deal
this
with.
bid right here is for going over the top of
The bid that you have in front of you is, the original sealed bid that we got is tearing out the LVP and replacing with LVP, tearing out the VCT and replacing with VCT, and doing rolled carpet. Is that,
Yeah, that's the original, that's the 101.
and what is that, 110? What did that end up being?
Was it 101?
101?
100,300.
100,000. Yeah.
356.
Okay, so 101,000 would be basically putting it just back, just like it is. But there's no reason to do the carpet that way. I'd let them tear out the carpet and put the carpet tiles, because they just look better.
Yeah.
Plus, they're easier if you
For
ever have,
future, yeah.
you ever have one damaged, you can go back.
I'll put one.
The problem with the glue, that's really only gonna be on the older stuff, the VCT, it wouldn't be on the plane.
Right, no, plank shouldn't be an issue. The science lab and the entryway going from the shop out to the planks would be the two areas that you know,
Right.
and should they find something, you have to go through an abatement, and, who knows what that could end up costing, but
Is Vector Concepts who did this before?
yes.
So school has a relationship with them.
Yeah, they did 90% of the dome. They did the walking track flooring, they did all we've had a long relationship with them.
So you mentioned another possible bidder, but you're really not expecting anything else.
No, they missed the deadline. They did not.
So this bid right here.
What, I mean, but since we've had a relationship with Vector, it's not like we've had other flooring companies that we've had business with over the last several years. I mean, so.
I mean, they're about the only one I've dealt with personally,
Yeah.
on
So you add
anything much size.
$45.99 to it. Add $45.99 to it.
And I do,
This right here.
What's their timeline? I mean, if we
Well,
were to
that's just-
accept it, can they get it done before August the 12th?
they start the last week in July. And, that's what I was looking at. Even though they do have the product on hand, getting it here and getting it in place would be near
Good guys with
impossible.
flatbeds, we can go.
And that's, like right now, Keith Dobbs is over in the elementary replacing the code molding. So we've got that going on. We've got it, I'll get with Mr. Sternberger next week, or later this week maybe, and decide what we want to do in the rooms 1 and 2 with the ceiling. We're going to replace the lights in, I think, 4 or 5 rooms. We're going to upgrade the lights in some of those rooms that were damaged. So it'd be kind of just, where your comfort would be, and do you want to change the look? Do you want to come with the new look, make it pop a little bit? We go back to the planks that we've seen. There's one of them looks almost identical to what's in the high school now, color-wise, and it's a little bigger plank than what's in there.
I think what's probably best is to go with something like what's out there, over the top of that rolled linoleum that was damaged.
Yeah, they do it a lot, and again, the little bit we've had here.
And it's floating, so if we ever have to pull it up and.
Oh yeah, taking it up is
Yeah.
simple. And if you accept both alternates, you basically save, it's about a $99,000. If you save about $1,000, because the carpet tiles are about a $5,600 deduct, and the floating floor is about a $4,300 increase. So you end up.
The carpet tiles is the deduct? Okay.
Yeah, carpet tiles was the deduct.
That's fine.
That's why he's working on it. So the carpet-
$5,387 was the carpet deduct. That's from the. So go ahead.
So essentially, it ends up costing $99,567.69.
Well, I'm not sure about the 69, but the others sound right.
Okay. Well, you don't deal in cents, but I do.
No, I have no sense.
Okay. All right.
So do you see any reason to go back with any counter to what that is, or go with what is being proposed?
And you're comfortable with the company that you're, obviously,
We've done-
they're the only people that,
Yeah, we've done a lot of work with the company itself, like I said, all the walking track, all the,
in the past, we've had no problems with them.
everything that they have stated, they've held on to. I'm not gonna say everything has been perfect, we've had to work through some things, but they've always worked through, and again, I think we like what we have when we get done.
I was gonna say that.
Okay, now let's go back to end of July, 1st of August. Oh, we're delayed a week.
Yeah,
First
and
bell
these,
rings first day, and
are these products available?
9 of 10 classrooms out of service.
They have them in stock, but it's just at this time to get, this is a big time of year, everyone's doing these kind of projects.
So we need to get on it.
Huh?
We need to get on it.
Well, if you guys decide tonight, I'll absolutely move forward with it, but as far as getting them here any quicker, I don't know that I can think I can promise.
That means no pool time tomorrow for the retired folks.
How long they
It's
say,
always cool.
how long they saying it's gonna take to,
Well, they thought that they do the floating for it, I don't know about the parking. But now, we're still able to use all the rooms but 1 and 2. We still use those, so it may be something that has to be done over at Christmas or something like that. But I think I kind of brought that along, that was a concern of mine way back when we started this deal, the way things were going with costs and with availability of material. But,
At least it doesn't take lumber to do it. So it is your recommendation that we go with the Vector Concepts bid?
I absolutely would say yes on the Go Vector Concepts bid. Which part of the bid, which combination, I would certainly acquiesce to the gentleman up the board and the lady that's sitting with the gentleman.
I think the question is, do we want to make any changes to what
Yeah,
has
that's
been
what I was
proposed?
thinking.
I don't have any that I know of. I mean,
Need to get it done.
Except like for Chandler.
both alternate bids.
Both alternate bids.
Yeah. I'll make a motion to accept the bids proposed, including the 2 alternate bids for $99,000, for a total of $99,567.69.
Second.
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Wood.
Yeah, thank you, Dr.
You guys are extremely well. Always a pleasure.
This pizza's really good, though, that Mr. Sternberger brought tonight.
I told you what you like.
Agenda item 4.1, discussion, possible board action regarding activity fund transfers. Are there any?
No.
Okay, agenda item 4.2, discussion, possible board action regarding changes to the district calendar for the 21-22 school year.
So starting early, just one of the things that I heard was just because of the end-of-year conflicts with the graduation and all the other end-of-year activities, is could we immediately look at changing just the starting date and end date of next year's school calendar? So got together with the principals and 2 counselors and just kept it to August and May. Didn't get anything in the September through April of changing things there. That'll become at a later date next year when we have, put together a little committee and get input on some of that stuff. And so really all we came up with is just to avoid those end-of-year conflicts was to push everything back, the start date back 1 week, not affect anything September through April, and then that moves the end date back 1 week, and the graduation would then be pushed back to May 13th. Sent the original draft out, explained to everyone email, so every employee in the district got it, explained why, what the thought was, and then had people return votes. I think we gave them like 2.5 days. Came back 49-6, we're in favor of the blue draft, just starting it at least 1 week later, and depending on carpet, we may get to make another adjustment, it sounds like. We'll cross that bridge later on. So, no other questions. I mean, I'd recommend that we just switch to the blue draft.
Do we know, do we know when state university graduations are? Would the 14th of May be in conflict with OSU, OU, UCO?
Aren't those usually on a
There was one on
It'd be-
Sunday, there was one on Sunday, I don't remember all of
Usually
them.
earlier, I thought.
I didn't know if
It was the
was
13th is on a,
Well, 13th is the last day of schools, the 14th is,
okay, so you're talking about the 14th on Saturday.
14th.
right.
So when would be the first day?
The
May
9th.
9th, or August 9th.
12th for kids class.
And we can move graduation. I mean, I guess more what we need to just adopt tonight is the calendar itself with tentative graduation date of May 14th.
It looks like OU says commencement weekend, May 13th.
So there's gonna be one college that some sort of graduated in there.
I assume it's a good thing to get it off of Mother's Day weekend?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I assume.
Usually baccalaureate is always on Mother's Day.
Right, is that the 8th? Is
Yeah.
Mother's Day the 8th? Yeah. So was there any of those 6 that voted to keep the old calendar, did they have any comments listed in their vote as to why they really like?
One had scheduled some kids coming in early for their organization. They'd already had it scheduled, so they would just have to reschedule that.
Nothing correct.
OSU graduation is May 6th.
So
The 6th,
May 6th.
previous week.
They graduate the smarter kids early.
May 7th would be, that's graduate.
Oh, you just.
Wait, was that, OU was the next week, right? Okay, so
They
comment
get more
stands.
schooling in.
I'm not sure OU has a graduation.
So comment stands, okay.
I'll just better.
So what was your recommendation, Mr. Sternberg?
the blue draft.
I make a motion, we adopt the blue draft school calendar for 2021 and 2022.
Second.
I'll second his second.
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
Okay, agenda item 4.3, discussion, possible board action regarding supplemental appropriation for Child Nutrition Fund 22 in the amount of $102,058.06 for the 2021 school year.
So when you receive your estimate of needs, your prior approved appropriations, meaning basically what you could spend, was $571,431.79. As money comes in over the year and that we need to spend more than $571,431, then you got to do a supplemental appropriation, which she's shown where through the additional school lunch program and then the school breakfast program, we've pulled in an extra $102,000. So she's asking for a supplemental appropriation because that way we can spend more than $571 without you guys getting in trouble.
Okay.
That's gotta be good.
Yeah.
Stay out of trouble.
I'm in favor of it.
Doing our best to keep you out of trouble.
Well, let's do it then. I will move to approve.
Second.
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
Okay, agenda item 4.4, discussion possible board action regarding property, casualty, and liability insurance coverage for the district for policy year beginning July 1 of 2021.
So OSRT, through initial conversations with returning members, did not have enough interest to be able to provide reinsurance or to be able to qualify to get reinsurance. So their quote is no good because they're not going to move forward into next year. They will still, as a board member, full disclosure, they'll still keep their board because there's going to be schools that may get a claim between now and June 30th. There's schools like us that are still dealing with claims. So they'll still pay out, they still take care of everything. But just going into next year from July 1, they're not providing any insurance. So right now there's basically one that does a class insurance, a group insurance. Some of the larger schools, they can self-insure through personal liability or auto, whatever. We're not big enough that anybody would consider that. So hopefully between now and next year, when we're looking at getting reinsurance, somebody else puts together a pool or another group just to give for competitive purposes. So as of today. We've got one quote from OSIG in the amount of $163,679. The agent, worked with the agent, made sure the quotes were apple to apple on the OSRT moving over. They don't provide the amount of school board legal liability that OSIG quotes, or that OSMART had, but they still have some.
Okay. Do you remember what those differences were?
I do not.
Good. That's fine.
You're not gonna do anything to need it, I hope.
Mm-hmm. No. You're gonna keep us out of trouble.
So we just got the one bid.
Yep.
That's your choice.
Yeah.
OSIG or no insurance.
so we really-
I recommend OSIG.
We really don't, we really don't need to know.
Come on, roll the dice. I strongly recommend OSIG.
Okay.
I move to approve the bid from OSIG for $163,679.
Second?
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes. Agenda item 4.6, discussion possible board action regarding bids for the 94 Ford van 3/4 ton club wagon with lift gates. This is sounding better all the time. The board has the right to accept, reject, or table any or all bids.
There's your two bids.
Can I bid on this?
It was due Friday at 3. We actually had somebody come in and bid today and had to reject it.
I think it's against the law for me to bid on it. But we have OSIG, so.
Yeah, it's lower.
We'll find out. Yeah.
Okay. We have two bids. We have a bid from Scott Hike of $400 for the 94 Ford van. $400. We have another bid of $100.
Probably just the wrong color.
Mrs. Erin Wolfenstein.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what Scott's gonna do with that, but I'm interested to see what it is.
Why do I think it's gonna be painted up?
I'm
and
sitting
parked
here in
front of
much
the bar out
anticipation
on the
for
golf course. With longhorns on the front of it.
We're on the
Maybe
lift gate.
it'd be a wagon that he could haul people back home from the bar.
He may do.
I think there'll be a keg somewhere in the middle of this
He
thing.
may do prom thing with it.
Tailgating at OSU women's basketball game.
Right, so I'll make a motion to accept Scott Hike's bid of $400 for the 94 Ford van 3/4 ton club wagon
If he cleans up the oil spill underneath.
with, just a second,
Oh,
with
with-
liftgate.
Well, the lift gate's worth $400.
I understand. That's why I wanted to make a bid, but I can't.
Second.
Thank you for that, Luke.
You bet.
Dr.
I was
Matusek?
struggling for a while. Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes. Agenda item 5, any new business?
No new business.
Okay, you're up. Agenda item 6, superintendent report.
So on the financial update, I just wanted to go through the first part on the financial activities. Just kind of give a year end of, the next couple weeks where we're gonna actually end up. As you see here in the general fund, it shows total cash is then payout, so around 3.3 million. Have probably about another $300,000 to $350,000 of warrants that will go out. So we'll finish the year in the general fund with about 2.9 to 3 million. So that's very good considering, the loss of gross production that we've had and then the tax protest. And then the other fund, just to point out, is the building fund. Balance, total money is around 375,000. And then based on what we'll get in next year, our supplemental or initial appropriation, I don't know exactly what it was, but estimate needs will come in around 715,000 we had in the building fund. So you've done a good job of holding on to that to allow you for some future projects. So
You mentioned the tax dispute. I assume you're talking about the windmill stuff. So-
And DCP, is that right? DCP is up here,
Oh.
yeah. And I called today to get and the lady that could help me with that is out of the office this week. But I plan to be able to answer questions, so.
It just seems like it just shouldn't take this long to get it settled, I mean.
If there's lawyers
I know,
involved.
I know.
You're under the assumption that it'll ever get settled.
Well,
Well, that's, that's a serious concern because, this case will set a precedent for all districts in the state.
yeah,
Luckily at the time that Kingfisher County voted to do this, the schools were able to use gross production money. In just 5 years before, during our Super County meeting, we would not have been able to even have that discussion to bring back to you guys because at the time we were all scraping and, through attrition or some rifts, and so completely different. So luckily due to gross production is the only reason we were able to step out and do this as a county. So hopefully I can get something by next month and have a better answer for you on the tax, because
Those lawyers have already prepared their appeal to their taxes in the Cimarron Schools District for Major and Garfield County. Those haven't even started turning yet.
that's just wrong. Just wrong.
Well, there should be no surprises in that school district over there for what they've done up here.
Yeah.
Yes.
No surprises.
Oop, there you go.
Pictures.
Yeah.
I know you guys know where this stuff is, but when I'm explaining, I just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
I appreciate
So a lot of the things that I get right now are obviously outside. Most outside stuff contains, extracurricular activities. I haven't, once I get the teachers back and, we're talking about the flood and insurance, we obviously want to make sure we take care of the inside the classrooms and have materials and equipment that they have to be the best teachers possible. So the stuff I'm running by you tonight, with it mainly being extra duty, is just something that we can look at, start planning for, get your guys' opinion, because we have not had a chance to visit with this. So, start off, I did email you guys and told you, just to get some quotes on repainting the trim baseball canopy over seating area. When you're looking at a small amount on that, I haven't got a quote yet, but Dr. Matusi brought back, maybe a rubberized paint in the trim and see if we need to go inside as well. It was mentioned at one point in time to move the entrance of the visitors, and that's the reason I have that yellow sidewalk. Right now, we park the visitors there and they come in the southwest corner, have the nice, pretty walk by the dumpsters.
You're talking about football?
Football
Okay.
field right now, yes. The one thing we would have to do there, it wouldn't take much to create an entry, but obviously build an ADA accessible sidewalk. That's going to be probably the biggest cost with that. I was gone most of last week at conference, so I haven't had a chance to reach out to some of the people. That's where I need to get with you, Dr. Woods, and just get the names of people to be able to do this.
So
No one.
if you move that around,
Well,
sorry, you guys don't have it.
I'll get her, yeah, I'll get you.
But if,
Gina might.
I'll get you a copy.
basically, you're kind of moving the sidewalk of this entrance where they would come in, basically between,
Be right on the west side of the current
between
field
Mitchell
house.
Road and our weight room.
That is correct.
So, don't a lot of our visitors still park in this practice field area?
No, they've been denied access from that for some time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
I was just wondering, now they have to come, okay.
No,
Good.
Our
No,
players
all that
park-
parking's been moved up. I mean, they park up here
Good, okay.
In years past,
and
yes.
over here.
And I would prefer to keep it that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
another expense of, they
Yeah.
park there when it's rainy and then
Yeah.
who gets to pay for
Well,
the runs?
then-
We do.
Right.
The players are there, players parking there, and then you have visitors all amongst there.
Yeah.
It's just,
Just another step to start cleaning that area up.
Yep.
So, once again, I'll get a price, get a quote on that. Anything else as I go through, I just kind of get in a hurry, get to talking. One of the things, visiting with Coach Linsenmeyer, went out and looked at softball field. And, obviously there's big plans for that, but as you look, and we're going to be looking at it, is we look at the canopy that needs painted, They've got the nice dugouts with locker rooms, the visitors got nice dugouts, and the softball girls, you know, metal frames, wood, peeling, everything else. So got a meeting tomorrow to try to get a quote on just going around that with the cinder block, getting rid of that wood, and getting something that's a lot more attractive. And that's just kind of the first step of starting to get into.
Whatever we look at, let's look at whatever is the most easiest to maintain. Requires the least amount of, you know, might require the most upfront cost,
Yeah.
but down the road, you know, we're looking at least cost.
And he was saying, you know, if we do cinder block just to paint it, then that'd be a yearly fee.
Well, I'm not opposed to, cinder block.
Is
Yeah.
something, if anybody has, I mean, if you
On
guys
that-
have suggestions.
On that rubber coating
Uh-huh.
for the roofs, a lot of that is heat reflective, those rubber coatings.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's why I was suggesting
Mentioning
that.
that.
It was just, it's heat reflective
Yeah.
and could help with some of the heat that builds up in those canopies.
And if you're talking about going around the girls' dugouts with cinder block, what's currently there, is there a plan to give the girls a locker room at the dugout like the boys have?
Not what I'm running with on tonight. Eventually, yes.
But there is a plan to eventually,
Yeah, but just not right now. I mean, to get this first part, talk about the entry there, and then the next step for them would be the locker room, and then to come back to get a concession stand, press box, bigger seating area. So the next phase is hoping to go to like next summer.
yeah.
Yeah. Because where we are with time frame, we wouldn't be able to have it this fall anyway.
Yeah.
But if we can plan, get some of this stuff that could be done pretty easy, dress it up, and then next year have that.
I know this isn't discussing that, but I remember this last year, at the same time, baseball tournament was going on, softball tournament was going on, and the controlled access to try to get gate, you know, we blocked off those two main entrances to the parking area, and they had to come around between the football field and the baseball field. I don't, you know.
No, that's-
An access, controlled access and ticketing possibilities.
So that's the green circle.
Okay. I
Because
see.
right now, that's the most logical point to go to the softball field, and that's the handicap parking area, and then you get to walk by the dumpsters once again. So we need to get the dumpsters out of there, get the curb down, work with city, move parking, however all that works. There's a basketball court, eventually need to probably move that little court, because that's eventually where our home stands, concession area will be, but dress that entry up for sure.
What about, you know, looking at these kind of facilities, a set of bleachers at the baseball field on the first base side? They were removed several years ago to be replaced and have never been replaced. You see that gap between the concession stand and the first base dugout? There once was bleachers there.
Okay. I've not talked to anybody about that, so literally just here first meeting, I get to plead ignorance and insanity.
Well, it's kind of, you know, on really cold or really hot days, it's nice to pull up in your pickup and leave the, you know, air conditioner going, but no, we need to have bleachers there of some kind.
Were they repurposed or were they just?
Yeah, I think they were moved to
Was that,
softball field and, you know, then a little league field and things like, or some of it was completely torn down because I picked up all the wood just this year during
So they
baseball.
were wood.
Yeah.
and you're talking between the press box and the
And
visitor
the
dugout?
first base
Yeah.
visitors dugout.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it looked nice to try to assimilate that which is on the third base side, you know, a covered seating there. I don't know if it's necessary, but something needs to be done there because, you know.
Well, right now, if they don't sit there, then you have your home and visitors sitting together on
Yeah.
the third base side.
Yeah.
One challenge you're gonna have kind of coming there, we are across the city, that's the city's own, you know, that basketball and the toys and stuff.
Right. That's what I say, I have to visit with them and see what can be done.
We need to notify Google Earth to
I was gonna say,
update the picture.
Is our town
Update it,
pool
yeah.
in
Little old-
Canada or something, you know?
There's not even any elementary school playground equipment in this one.
The other thing is obviously I've had a couple track companies come in and talk about, you know, the base of that is good. I mean, it's had the soil sample test, it's had everything done, it's the top, you know, whatever it is, 2 inches that needs to be redone. So depending on what version you go with, or as we get quotes in, you're looking at anywhere from $250,000 to $320,000 if we want to pursue that.
And which project?
The track,
That's just to resurface? The 200,000 or?
yes, yeah. That'd take it
You
down.
mentioned
That'd
something
take it
else
down to
about curbing
asphalt.
it as well.
So one guy said you could do curbing and that would reinforce it. Another guy said you don't need to do curbing all the way. You'll just pick key points and do concrete abutments in there and brace it back up. Then eventually, if you want to come do a sidewalk all the whole deal, you can.
Okay.
But he said to get by, he would just do abutments. It'd be cheaper, and it would, before it's starting to sag away from the track itself.
And that doesn't include gravel for parking or maybe restroom
No.
facilities
No.
or
No,
concession stand?
no. Another thing I know Dr. Woods had, and if I leave anything out, feel free to interrupt, or feel free to interject, but, you know, in the southwest corner of the football practice field, he had an area right south of there, had an area for the transportation barn, just, you know, lean-to type transportation barn, get where they're currently at, move them over, rip it down to the red steel, and then go back in and put concessions and restrooms, and have a locker room that could be split. Yes, that right there.
In the current bus. what we
The
call
old
bus-
bus, yeah, the old bus barn,
The old
yes,
bus.
that right there, yeah. So that's the reason he was
And where
wanting.
would he put the new
Right,
lean-to?
right below, down here in the corner, is where he had it. And he's got a drawing that I couldn't.
He did?
find. Yeah. He's got a drawing, he's had some architects look at it. And so that was down here,
Right where the dome was supposed to go.
was it the original spot of the dome?
So in,
No, no, that was not the original spot.
Is his name on the comments, ledger?
I was talking down
by the road,
Coming off the south.
Okay.
Oklahoma.
okay.
We had a FEMA assessment, a risk assessment. One of the things they brought up is how would we quickly evacuate all the elementary kids with the buses being so far away? So by moving them to that corner, you know, that was one of the reasons for doing it. Plus exactly what Jason just, that chain of events that gets bathrooms that would be shared by track, basketball, or track, baseball, football, in where the current old bus barn is, or
Well,
Bonnie's apartment.
What about our barn up here on 51? What would happen to that?
Well, part of that it could still be used for different projects, and it could still be used, but it would, at the time, depending on we were able to vote in the career tech attendance, there was some conversation about using that as a career tech project, program.
No, I'd love to look at the options to repurpose the old bus barn
So,
for multi-purpose.
so obviously don't have a budget on, did you get ever a budget on the transportation? Of course, whatever he would have got is already shot with price of materials right now. So no idea exactly what the transportation barn and the refurbishing the old bus barn or where Gary currently is. But everything else, you know, you're well within that $300,000 to $350,000, depending on what all you do and what level of track you go with, maybe up to $400,000, where you could move and start moving forward on all the projects, just out of the building fund where I was telling you.
Is the bleacher system over there adequate for track?
I've
needs?
jogged. I mean, I didn't see anything wrong with it. It seemed
Those bleachers are,
They're
barely used and
Right.
bleachers
brand
were the best
new.
thing I saw.
The only thing it kind of needs, if we were to host, is some kind of facility like a press box, like a administrative building. It doesn't even have to be elevated necessarily, but, you know,
One of the-
it's
And so the
void.
closest bathrooms would be the bus barn.
Or that wheat pasture to
I'm fine with that. My kids know how to do that.
And remember, the
There's
ag
a
barn,
tree.
the ag barn's over here on the other side of the track, so.
Yeah.
Well, the restrooms in the bus barn are under repair, or are they being repaired?
continuously, they are
Well, they're
continuously
They're
in
probably-
disrepair.
Probably gonna have one that should be fairly.
There needs to be
reasonable.
multiple restrooms.
Yeah, but, so we've been opening the football field restrooms up for
Okay,
that,
gotcha. So they walk over to the football concession.
yeah.
Well, and that's one of
Yeah,
the
mom and
good
dad get
things
to
about
participate in the cross-country event. It was over.
about that facility. I mean, there is electricity, there is plumbing, there is sewer there. So even if you didn't even, if you removed everything, including the red steel, the facilities are there to, you know, it's not like we're gonna have to bring in electricity, plumbing, sewer, all
Yeah,
that.
it all goes right.
Last month, we talked a little bit also about all the dirt that's piled there.
Yeah,
One way to address the parking is to put a culvert between the ag barn and that area, cover that, rock it, so that you can use it for ag events, plus you can pass park buses. and all that.
Essentially eliminates the huge drainage ditch that's there.
Yes, you put a culvert in there.
Has anyone assessed how much water goes through there? To know
David-
what size, to
David-
know what size,
David Fuchsa, we've already kind of looked at that.
Be a big one.
probably 36 inch
at
or
least.
48 inch.
Yeah.
At least.
We were to the point of moving forward with that.
I just remember a fellow told me you can move a lot of water
Not here.
on top of the ground a lot easier than you move it up there.
Oh, for,
For housing,
right.
but right here, you gotta have section off.
Well, I think the track is something we definitely need to pursue.
Okay. Any smaller projects?
Yeah, get those small projects done.
Okay. That's all I
All
have
right, all you got?
for that. And then just to recognize on 2 resignations received, Jackie Buchanan, and then just the sponsorship duty of yearbook, but Beth Kern just doesn't have the time to do the yearbook, so we'll be looking for a yearbook sponsor.
Yearbook sponsor. Okay. Agenda item 7, personnel, 7.1, proposed executive session to discuss employment of certified and non-certified personnel assignments for the 21-22 school year. We have a motion to enter executive session.
Yes.
Second?
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
I will. Acknowledge that we're returning to open session. We entered executive session at 7:54 to discuss the employment of certified and non-certified personnel assignments for the 21-22 school year. We discussed only agenda items. No votes were taken. All board members except Mr. Choate were here. We had 2 guests, Dr. Woods and Mr. Sternberger, and then returned to open session at 8:42. Agenda item 7.2. Discussion, possible board action regarding addendum to Superintendent Mike Wood's contract for the 2021 school year. I'll make a motion to approve the addendum to Dr. Wood's contract for the 2021 school year.
Second.
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
Is that part of the information?
I think it's in there, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Agenda item 7.3. Discussion and possible board action regarding the employment of non-certified personnel for the 21-22 school year.
I would recommend to the board that rehire non-certified employee in the attached list.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve the employment of non-certified personnel as listed. for the
Second.
21-22.
Second.
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes. Agenda item 7.4. Let me see if I can get there. Discussion and possible board action regarding extra duty assignments for the summer school staff. Certified teachers at $20 an hour for the 2021 school year as follows. Gary Russell, Jenna Matusek, Valerie Schamberg, and non-certified staff, Sherry Phipps, at $13.75 per hour.
No changes, so I'd recommend that to the board.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes. 7.5, discussion and possible board action regarding the employment of cooks for the summer feeding program as follows. Olga Roldan at $11 an hour, Veronica Roman at $10.75 an hour, and Patty Shaw at $13 an hour.
And no changes on those, so I make that motion to the, or recommendation to the board.
So moved.
Second?
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
I love the term summer feeding program. That sounds like what I'm doing to my feeder steers right now.
Agenda item 7.6, discussion and possible board action regarding employment of an elementary teacher on temporary contract for the 21-22 school year.
As listed there, we're at the possible of 2 teachers. We do have 2 to recognize or recommend tonight, Jordan Waltman and Morgan Webb.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
Agenda item 7.7, discussion and possible board action regarding the employment of a middle school science teacher and middle school language arts teacher on a temporary contract for 21-22.
Middle school science, I recommend Jacqueline Boss, and for the middle school language arts teachers, one doing the grammar, one doing the reading, Sarah Stoffer and Evan Kading.
So moved.
Second?
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
Discussion and possible, 7.8, discussion and possible board action regarding the employment of a high school science teacher on a temporary contract for the 21-22 school year.
And this will complete our entire district staff. 100% will be able to start tomorrow, but I recommend Donald Hatch for the high school science position.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Aye.
Dr. Matusek?
Yes.
Mr. Lau?
Aye.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
You can. You can.